Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video on the shuttle. Before we make a start on the next bit of the shuttle, I thought I'd give you a sneak peek of a project that I've picked up. A nice little 222. It is just a fuselage with retracts. They do work for fashion, and it's just about complete. We've got a tail plane that's actually inside here that needs fixing back on. The only thing that's missing is the tail cone piece there, but I'm going to see if I can try and find that online somewhere. So yeah, it's a 30 size. Not quite sure what mechanics are going into it yet, probably not the shuttle, but I thought I'd just show you that as a sneak peek. If you want to see that sort of done as a build or a project, comment below, and I'll see what we can do. So I'm just going to change things around in here a little bit to get the shuttle on the bench, and then see what progress we can make. Okay, so we've got the shuttle back on the bench. I think in the last video I said that the first thing I was going to look at was the tail rotor system, because it felt quite stiff. And there's a few things I needed to address and look at and check. Something else that people have commented on is that the rear skids are on back to front, and I'm planning on changing them to the correct way around. For now, that can wait. I'm going to make a start on the tail rotor. Basically, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but there's damage to these blades, so these are going to get replaced. Don't know how well you'll be able to see that there's a chunk taken out of that one. The chunk it's actually on the back of it. It's actually like taking a dunt. It's there. Also, there's a fair bit of movement and play in here. So I just want to check and make sure everything's all right. Seemingly, from what I've read, this play is by design, and then when it's actually spinning, the thrust bearings take up the load and it works fine. So really what I want to do is find out where the tightness in the control side of it is rather than the rotor. So I'm going to have to disconnect. Let's see if I can see here. Where's that bell crank ball link there. I have to disconnect that and make sure that's all free before we do much else. Right then, so I didn't film everything that I was doing there, but I have managed to free off the tail. So first things first, the push rod goes all the way down to the servo tray at the front. That seemed to be quite sticky, so I've taken the wire out of the tube, given the wire a light, I think it's like 600 grade cleaning with some oil, so it's just taken the very finest coat off it and then cleaned it all down so it's thoroughly clean. Flushed out the tube with cleaner, and then given that a light oiling, just so it's lubed. It might even be silicone oil I think I put down there, but that's all nicely moving now. Now where I thought the problem might have been was actually in the grips. It's actually not in the grips, it wasn't in the grips at all. So it was disconnected here for the push rod, still tight. Disconnected here, as in took these two pins out. The bell crank was nice and free, still tight on the actual linkages here. I took off this one here, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, on both arms, and the actual grips were nice and free to move. So that dawned on me that these are basically self-tapped into the plastic. Put these ones back in, and then just fractionally loosened off that one on both there and there, and it all suddenly became free. So I've just been tweaking everything just to get the nice snug fit, but still keeping it free, and it's now nice and free to move. It's never going to be crystal clear. No, that's probably the wrong description. It's never going to be perfectly smooth because of the design with having it in a wire and a push rod. If it was a direct linkage, with a servo mounted on the boom, it would probably work quite well. So that's all good. One thing I have noticed, I don't think these are original bolts, simply because they're not shouldered, they're fully threaded. So I'm going to replace those. I've also noticed the same on the head bolts as well. Again, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but they're fully threaded. so they're going to get replaced. So apart from the tail blades needing replaced here, again you can see they're not in great condition. Replacing the blades, replacing those 2 bolts, the tail end's good to go. So what I'm going to do now is move on to looking at the head and finding out why this is so tight here. Now, going on the tail end being bolted up really tight, I've got a funny feeling that there's going to be something in here that's just been horsed up well beyond what it needs to be. And that's why everything's tight. So I'm just going to disconnect a couple of ball links and start taking things out of the equation to see what is actually causing the problem. So the rotor head, well, through process of elimination, I think I might have found the root cause of the stiffness in the head, but I'll show you what we've got. So what I've done is I've just started taking off ball links one at a time to see what frees up. So these grips are all nicely smooth, so it's not those. The fly bar this way is all nicely smooth. This is still a little bit tight in here, so I might well strip the bolts out for them. But that's not what was causing the main problem. I mean, that's a lot looser than what it was. All of these links taken off one at a time. But then on that arm there, when I disconnected that was stiff as hell. And that washer there was stuck on there. And it looked like someone had covered the whole lot in thread lock, so it's all jammed up solid. So that's all been cleaned up. That's all free to move on that bolt now. I think someone might have horsed it up really tight as well. I'm going to take this one out and the same on the other side behind there, just to see if that's a particular reason why this is still a bit stiff. It wouldn't surprise me if it is, but I think that'll be fine like that. I mean, it's not overly tight. And then start putting it back together. Something else I did find, this anti-rotation collar, the bolt was in back to front, so it couldn't tighten up properly. In fact, it wasn't tightening up. It was just, I don't know how it was working, to be honest. So once everything's freed off, I need to figure out from the manual where that's got to sit, how high up the mast it's got to sit, and then it locates into that piece there. Again, I don't know how well you'll be able to see. It locates into there, something like that. So yeah, there should be a explanation in the manual as to where that's got to sit. So yeah, I'm going to take these bolts out, or certainly loosen them off first to see if it frees off the head. If it does free it off, I've then got to take them out, clean them up, and check that they're not jammed up with Loctite, which I'm guessing they might be now. So yeah, get on and do that. Okay, so I had to do a bit more disassembling than what I thought. The head's all totally off. But what we've got now, or what I found, is that I can't do this one-handed. Behind that bolt, there's a bush that sits inside this arm, and they were both really tight. And now, again, I can't do this one-handed to show how free it is, but that's more than free enough just now. I think somebody was a bit overzealous with the Loctite. So that's all been cleaned out, put back together with the right amount of Loctite. So now it's just a reassembly job and see if anything else is loose. Okay, so sometime later now, the head is all back together. It's all nicely free now. It's still got a bit of stiction to it, but it's all nicely free. This anti-rotation collar has been a right headache to get right. It's, I think by design, it's just not quite long enough on the pin, so that what I think is full negative pitch there, it's only just catching. But if you bring it down any lower, it actually limits how much positive pitch you get. So we're not going to have that much negative anyway, so I think it's going to be enough there to catch it and to give us full travel positive. So yeah, that's the the head all done. It's all moving nice and freely. There's no slot, there's no play. Yeah, pitch is working fine. So what I wanted to do now, again, I'm going to see if I can get you to see this. Can you see this? So when the pitch is moving, that servo arm is moving. So I don't know if these balls are really tight on there. I don't think they are. They don't feel tight. I think it's possibly, I don't know. I don't know what it is, to be honest, but I think it's too much play. So I think all of these servos are going to come out. So we talked about the tail rotor. That's all nice and free now. All of these servos are going to come out. They're going to get replaced with what, I don't know. I might have a rummage around the servo box just to see what I've got just now. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what the next stage is going to be. Oh yeah, I was going to turn these legs around, these rear legs. So I might well do that and see where we are. So I think I left you needing to take the servos out and get the undercarriage sorted out. And we've got the head all freed off and moving, and the tail all moving as I hoped it would, and it all still does. So we've got the undercarriage now sorted out. That's all configured, so it actually looks proportionate now to how it should be. And I've made a start on the servo replacement. I've taken out the JR 507s, the throttle and the pitch, and I've got all sorts of servos laying around that I've sifted through, trying to get a best selection, shall we say. I don't want to go putting brand new servos in this. I just want to use what I've got, really. So for the throttle, I've got a bog standard 3003 Futaba. Throttle doesn't need high power, high resolution, or anything like that. I've got, of all things, a 9402 for the pitch, because that's quite a, I think it's a 6 kilo servo, so that should be plenty. That's the pitch is where I think we're probably going to need the most oomph, most power. I've then got one, what have I got here? I've got a 3001 and I've got a 9202. I did have another 9202, but that is, I found there's a problem with that. So I don't really want to use it. So I've got to find one more servo suitable for, do I need to find another servo? Yes, I do. Yeah, 9, that's for that one. Yeah, I need to find one more, or decide on one more servo, and then we should have a full complement. So I've got the 3003 in. What I need to do now is, I'm using the same linkage as was on there. I just need to get the servo arm drilled. I was contemplating trying to put a ball link on this end and making up a new push rod, but I'm not too worried about that just now. I think what's happened is on the previous servo arm, the guys drilled the hole too big, which is why there was so much slop. So I'm just going to drill it a nice snug size, and that should work fine on there, and then we should be able to have the first operating servo in this airframe. Okay, and just like that, we've got the throttle servo in, which is all connected up and working. It's not centered or anything properly yet because I don't know exactly where the center is on the servo, but it is all connected up. Once we get a receiver into it through the transmitter, we can get the servo centered properly and get the geometry lined up with the throttle arm. Next job will be to get the pitch servo in, along with the rudder servo, aileron servo and elevator servo. But I don't know if you want to see me doing that. I don't suppose you do, so I'm just going to crack on with that and come back to you next time. Hopefully, well, my guess will be in the next video, we'll be looking at obviously getting the radio into it so we can start setting things up, possibly getting some fuel into it to fire up the engine, because we don't need all the other servos fully set up and centered. We just need to stop it flapping around in the breeze. And then we could possibly get it fired up, make sure the engine does run. I've got no doubt that it does. Get the servos fully set up, get the linkages all set up, get some blades on it, and then we'd be very close to actually being able to try and set it up electronically and get it airborne. That'll be coming in future videos, which if you subscribe to the channel you'll see when they get put out. If you're liking this sort of content, consider giving us a thumbs up. But from myself here in the workshop, I'll see you next time.